We got the fuel pump that came on the car, and started to take a look at it. I don't think it's going to work for us. It's a pump called Auto Pump, made in New Zealand, 12 volt, got positive and negative terminals on the back. It's primarily, feels like anyway, plastic. Certainly the part up here is plastic. It's full of full of brown powder. What I've been able, and it bolts to the firewall with these bolts, so it kind of stands off the firewall. But in researching these, they are an aftermarket pump, and so obviously the original fuel pump on this car is long gone. And one of the things that happens with this pump is that these openings where the fittings go crack, and then the pump is no good. And what I think happens generally, and these are the fittings that somebody screwed in there, and they're basically pipe thread with Teflon tape on them. And I would venture to say that this is a machine thread, and that this takes kind of a banjo fitting with a sealing washer here. And what happens when they screw these tapered thread fittings down in there, it blows that plastic apart. And I don't know if we can see, but this one is cracked right up through there, and cracked up through there, and cracked up through there. So this pump isn't going to work. We're going to have to source another pump, and unfortunately they're not cheap. So that's the way it goes sometimes, but I wish it wasn't going that way for us, because this thing's turning into a money pit. Well, we'll get it figured out. One of the things we've done as we go along on this project, sometimes we jump over some work, and it's not really a good idea, but sometimes we don't have the parts. So generally what I do is I'll put a tag on that area and write on what it needs. And in this case, we need to put these washers in here on this front tube, and basically it's like a little tab washer that goes over and goes in a slot and then bends over and keeps the nut tight. So we'll put them in, and we can take one of the tags off. Then what we got to do is work on putting this splash apron on here. I used to have some material that we put between the body and the frame on the old cars, and I don't seem to have any of it around, or I can't find it, whatever it is. I can't believe that this panel just sits down on that hard metal frame. I'm probably going to put something on there. I've got some, I've got some gaffer's tape that's black. It's a cloth material. It's not really ideal, but I might put a layer or two of that on there. I've looked in the catalogs, and nobody seems to sell a cloth material to put in there, so we'll put something in there. We've just got some stainless carriage bolts that'll work in there and look halfway decent. And so we'll get these washers put in, and then we'll get this valence panel put on. Man, look at that. Grab the right size the first time. This will probably jump around all over the place when I take this bolt out of here. That'll be interesting. Actually, the spring eye. I figured that. It has some preload on it. That'll be fun getting it to go back together again. Yeah, we'll put our washer on there, and I think what we'll have to do is jack that up, take the preload off of there, and get her lined back up again. There we go. Let's see what that's gonna take to get that to line up again. Well, I used a drift there and got it lined back up again. There's a little notch in the frame rail here, and that tab sits back in that notch, and that keeps it from turning when it sits in there. And then you tighten this guy up. Just tighten this guy up right here. And then what we do is bend this tab over. We can't get another flat there. So just back off ever so slightly. And then what we'd do, you get a hammer and bend that tab up against that flat, and that'll keep that, keep this bolt from coming out, keep it good and tight. And one thing you want to do here is make sure that when you're done, your grease fitting is going to be accessible. So I'm not real sure before we put the splash pan on, we'll have to look at that, but you got to make sure that the grease fitting is pointing somewhere so that you can get your grease gun on it later on and just make your life a little easier. I would think, unless that's out in the open, I would think that sticking up in the air is probably not a good idea, but we'll have to see if the splash pan covers that or not. If it doesn't, then you could just get right on it. So we'll see. And repeat on the other side. And we got our front roll pan, nose piece, whatever you want to call it. Got it in place. We're just painting the ends of the badge bar, so we've got to wait till the paint dries on them and bolt the badge bar down and bolt the pan down the rest of the way. Tried to look at some different ideas, and some of the badge bar brackets mounts are painted black, some appear to be chrome, some maybe the car color, don't know. We're going to make ours black, and considering the price of chrome plating these days, which is through the roof, we're going to make our, we just put some shrink tubing over our badge bar. Kind of hokey, but we can always cut it off and do something with the badge bar later on. It's not critical to the operation of the vehicle, so we just want to get it on there and have it look halfway decent, and it's something that can be changed later. But we got our lock washers in place on our front spring perches, and get some more little projects to clean up, and we'll get on to those.